Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on your time zone. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Paris Campbell, and I manage the Real Leather Stay Different International Student Design Competition, representing the Leather and Hide Council of America. I'm thrilled to welcome you all to today's workshop, organised by RLSD and the Institute of Digital Fashion, focused on unlocking sustainable design and utilising Clo 3D for your entry into the RLSD 2023 international competition. As you are aware, our competition's mission by talented designers to work with responsibly sourced and durable real leather, giving purpose to hides that would otherwise end up in landfills and addressing the impact of fast fashion that resonates strongly in the industry. IoDF is dedicated to nurturing future creators and reshaping the industry's perspective through innovative digital design. Our partnership reinforces our shared values in promoting the next generation of creatives through education and further strengthening our commitment to sustainability. Now, today's workshop exemplifies how our collaboration is providing new skills and perspectives. During the workshop, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A function, and we will be monitoring it closely to ensure that all your queries are addressed. For any further questions after the workshop, do not hesitate to contact our team at info@chooserealleather.com. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our host for today, CattyTay, the co-founder of the Institute of Digital Fashion. Thank you so much for joining us and for leading this incredible workshop. Over to you.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Paris, for the little intro there. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a very brief, but hopefully slightly in-depth overview of Clo 3D. It's a gravity simulating software. It's not just used for fashion, it's used for interiors, soft furnishings, anything that is free-flowing and that can be affected by gravity and like simulated. Basically, a lot of softwares specialize in like hard objects, like making like equipment or cars. Like that's the very like old school way of 3D design, but this is not relatively new, but it has recently come very much into everyone's ears within the fashion industry through COVID. I think there was just a massive push on like how we can actually make clothes more sustainable and things like that. So a lot of massive companies have this software in their back end, and it's really good for trialing loads of samples before you make that finished product. So, but not only that, it's also just a massive creative tool that you can just create animations, create stills, do designing, lots of stuff in there. So this, as you can see, is the Clo 3D main interface. It's quite intuitive, which is amazing because a lot of 3D softwares are just like, there's just so many buttons that don't really mean anything, but it's quite intuitive. Like that is a button. It looks like a button here, which is great. That's why I love it. You've got the 3D window on the left-hand side, and you've got the 2D window on, no, 2D on the right, 3D on the left, sorry. And the 2D is where you do effectively all of your pattern cutting. If a lot of you guys are used to physical pattern cutting, a lot of the skills that you will know, you can transfer over into here, and that's what you do in the 2D window. What I'm going to show you is how you can basically create something yourself using everything that is in all of the default settings, so that you don't need to know any other 3D softwares, you don't need to buy anything. You can just go straight to the library that's on this side here. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is get an avatar. And I'm just going to pick here, this is all the default stuff. I'm just going to click through, and I'm just going to click this one here. Before, Clo didn't really have many different avatars. You can actually change the size and the shape, all of the measurements of these avatars as well, which is amazing. So you've got your avatar, and if you're going to do fashion, you need an avatar there, because when you put the gravity simulating active, the fabric actually collides with the avatar itself. So you need an avatar there to work around like your digital mannequin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a basic t-shirt. And a lot of you guys might know how to draft patterns. If you don't, that's fine, because back in the day when I was learning, all I did was Google different patterns. I would Google what's a t-shirt pattern, and I would make it up on Illustrator and just copy around all of the lines, export it as a PDF, and you can actually import it straight into here. So that's what I'm going to show you, which is you just go File, Import, and I'm going to import a PDF, and it is here. Okay. And you can see, so that is something that I made in Illustrator. I just drew the lines around, exported it as a PDF, and I've imported that PDF. And now, as you can see, this is the 2D pattern window, and it's automatically come into the 3D window as these flat, really super ironed fabric that hasn't been quite molded around the avatar yet. A really nice way of quickly getting your patterns to sit where you want them to is you can turn on something called arrangement points, which is here on this side. Oh, not that one. That one. And it kind of, it's giving you like a target for where you want those patterns to go. A t-shirt's not that complex, but sometimes when you're dealing with something that's got loads of different pleats or wraparound fabrics, you want to be able to just quickly jump that over to the specific point on the avatar. So all I need to do is click and hover, and it's just going to form there ready for when I'm going to sew it. And I'm going to do the same with the back one on this side. And if you just hover there, so now I've got the front and the back. But as you know, if people work in physical fashion, you'll know that you often cut on the center fold and you fold it open, and that's very much similar to what we're going to do here. So I'm going to turn my arrangement off. I'm actually going to move that sleeve out of the way. And all I'm going to do is, because sometimes you'll have been working on something and you just need to mirror it, which is obviously like what you do in physical fashion. So I'm going to do the same here. And I'm going to click the line selection tool, and I'm just going to click there, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going unfold with symmetric editing and sewing. So that, as you can see in the 3D window, it's just gone. And I'm going to do the same with here on the back piece. Unfold like so. For this, I'm actually going to not do the sleeves for this. I'm going to get rid of them. We're going to do a vest like what I'm wearing actually. So the sewing part is quite fun. You've got your panels, they're all in the correct places generally of where it's going to fall. And what you want to do is the sewing, you can see on this side here, there's a few different ways of sewing. There's one that's like super intuitive. You can do it directly on the 3D pane here. You can click and then click, and you'll see it really does look like stitches almost. And all I did was click on the one, and there's actually notches. So if I was to click there, that notch is on the inner side of the neck. If I was to click there, but then click on the outer side of the shoulder, that's basically telling me that that's incorrect, because all of the stitching is currently going in the wrong way. So it's going to actually cross the fabric over in the incorrect way. So all you need to do is make sure that it's perfect sewing. And that's one thing that really I couldn't grasp when I first started learning this. I was like, why is my fabric eating itself? But yeah. And then same again with here. This is another sewing tool. As you can see, I can't just click from one to the other here, because if I was to do that, that one is smaller than this line. So it will actually, in some respects, that might be really nice. It will create like a gather. But for this, I want it to just be a perfectly togethered vest. So I'm going to click a free, what's this one called? Freehand sew. Yeah, free sewing. And all you do is you click from one your top point all the way down to the bottom, and then top all the way down to the bottom, like so. And I'm going to do it for the same other side, top all the way down to the bottom. So there's just a few different ways of sewing, just depending on what it is. And then once that's all in place, I am going to simulate this, which is this big button over here. And it will happen in a split seconds because this is quite a lightweight t-shirt. So the simulation will go whoop. And it's quite fun when you're in the simulation mode because you can pull. It's like, it's kind of generating new ideas and new roles of like digital stylists, for example. You might have someone that's like amazing at Clo 3D technically, but you might get a stylist who wants to come in at this point or something like that, where it's like, actually, I want that to be kind of tucked into a trouser and like pulled across here. Like, see, I'm going to stick with that, where it's like off the shoulder. So you've got your tank top, and you might want to put a texture on there or a fabric. Let's talk about leather, as we are in a leather conference. So I'm going to make this a leather material. It's going to be very kind of a leather vest. We'll go with it. What you do here, this is your fabric section. So at the moment it's called fabric 1, and these, I'm just going to lift this up. In Clo 3D you can pretty much make any fabric of your choice. One second, I'll make that larger. You can make imaginary fabric, you can make real life fabric that really like looks and feels like denim, like leather, like anything like that. Or you can make a leather that also just does leather qualities, but something that shouldn't actually work and exist, like, for example, floating up in the air. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and here it's got the physical properties. At the moment, it's nothing. It's just like the generic Clo 3D fabric. And I'm going to go to leather lambskin, and you'll see there that it completely changed how it sits. It's a little bit more rigid, like leather is. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put a leather fabric on there, a leather fabric kind of quality texture. Oh, let me find it. Ooh. 1 second. Just trying to find my leather. It is here somewhere on my laptop. There we go. Okay, well, I've put in the, basically after this, I've got a whole folder of different things, and I've actually put this leather fabric in the folder for you guys to use. But I'm going to come back to that in a second. So what I'm also going to show you now is some more library settings, and then I'm going to go through if you wanted to animate inside Clo and if you wanted to render. So for now, I'm going to get rid of my beautiful tank top. I'm going to go back to the library settings. You've got up here, you've got garments. I'm going to click there. You've got these amazing, like, basically blocks that you can use, edit, adapt, do anything that you want to, which is super helpful when you're starting off. If you go into this folder and then click blocks, I'm going to go into woman, and then I'm going to go jackets. There's all of these different blocks that you can choose from. I'm going to click this one. All you need to do is double click, and it will automatically form there. And this is such a good way of learning, just like even looking at this pattern and how it works. And you can select the sewing just to see, like, okay, that goes into that, right? Okay, I'm slowly starting to understand it. And at the moment, we've only got a front, so we also need to pick a back, like that, like so. And I have a feeling that we're going to have to do the sewing on this. One sec, let me just, okay, Clo has gone crazy. I don't know why that's happened. 1 second. Let me move that bar. There we go. Da-da. So I'm just going to press simulate and see what happens. Okay, yeah, so you can see it slowly start, which actually looks quite nice, but it's slowly starting to fall off, which we don't want. So I'm just going to quickly sew these 2 sides up with this, as we were doing earlier. Really quickly. Everything else is sewn together, which is great, but it's just sewing the back to the front. Oh, I missed the shoulders. 1 second. Where's my back piece? There we go. Like, it's so trial and error, this thing. When I was teaching myself, I went wrong like hundreds and hundreds of times, but it is just the best way of learning. Okay, there we go. So we've got a lovely vest jacket situation going on here. What you can also do is, which is something that is happening a lot on digital campaigns, a lot on social media, is walking digital cloth animations. So for the first time in a long time, no, first time ever, I think, actually, Clo have put actual animations inside of the software, which is amazing, because before you'd have had to have known a different 3D software, you'd have had to have made that animation and then import it. But they've got here, if you go to the avatar, click the avatar that we're using. If you go to motion, there's 2 motions here, and I'm just going to click one of those, move avatar and garment into the start position, and if you press 2, it automatically goes to where she is. Oh wow, that is so see, this is another thing that happens that I was not expecting, but I'm kind of here for it, actually. It's it's made the jacket sit how she shouldn't be wearing it, but I'm actually going to keep it like that. That's not normally what happens, by the way. This is 3D softwares in a nutshell. Surprising things will happen, and now look at that design. It's actually kind of good. I'm going to leave it like that. So she is at the very first part of her walk cycle. She's ready to strut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, oops, 1 second. I'm going to click over here. It's funny, when I'm also sharing screen, it kind of misses out certain things, but I've got it over here. So if you see where it says over here, we're currently in the simulation mode. What you need to do next is go to animation, and you just click yes for this. I can hear my laptop overheating, but it's okay. We've got this. What we're going to do is show you. I'm going to go back a little bit. So if I was to just press play, you can see her walk. It's a very, very fast little strut there that they've given us as a default, which is great. What I want to do is I want that fabric to move with her. This is a key thing that I got wrong so much when I was learning. I was like, I'm pressing play. Why is the fabric not moving at the same time? But all you've got to do is press this button right over on the left-hand side, which is the record button. And that is going to record all of the tiny keyframes to which the avatar is moving. It's going to record every single tiny movement that fabric makes. So I'm just going to press record now. And you'll see it is moving in real time. And at the bottom here, this timeline, it's recording that so that we can keep that animation, and it's a tangible animation that we've made. And if you wanted to export that and take it into Cinema 4D or Unity or anything like that, that bit along the bottom is what you export for the fabric. And you can also export the motion of the avatar as well. And we've got like a weird off-the-shoulder jacket worn in the wrong way-esque thing, but I like it. It's good. And depending on how heavy your garment is will depend on how long this takes. I'm actually quite impressed that it's running whilst we're also on Zoom. So this is going good. It's not too much of a heavy file. And I'm just going to stop it there. She doesn't need to walk all the way. So what we can do now is I can kind of go like this, and we can just watch parts of that. That's actually very fast. I can slow that down. This is the beauty of this. Sometimes you might want to watch it like a little bit more like centrally, and then you can really see the actual motions in the fabric. And it's so true to life. It's actually blows my mind still a bit today. And then walks back. And oh, see, that's where I stopped it. You can also change things, like it's quite bouncy. There's a lot of different settings that you can do in the fabric properties. And I'm going to send them a big pack after this of different like tactics that you can do. It might be that you really like the floaty-esque quality, or you might want it to be truer to life. This one's quite bouncy, and it's a setting called internal dampening that you can change so that it feels a little bit more like less heavy gravity bounce in it, basically. So another thing that I'm going to run through, I know this is super fast, but it's very much just like a stab into the capabilities of this software. I'm going to go back to simulation. I'm going to look at her with her strut there. And let's say I want to render an image of her. All you have to do is, sorry, I'm just trying to move her up there. Ah! Okay, I thought we'd frozen then. We haven't, that's good. All you need to do is, 1 second. Go up to the top, which says render. And if you click render, all you need to do is click this middle section here, click here to start the interactive render. And this is the beauty of this software. It has a little bit of everything taken from all the different 3D softwares, all the things that you'd ever need to know. It's come a long way, and it's now just like this whole 360 thing that you can do. You can make all the way to render an image at the very end. And it's got its own predetermined environment and lighting kind of environment setup, basically. So you can already see that there's some nice lighting on there. And what you'd need to do is you press stop up here. There's different camera settings. So I've just clicked that camera one. You should have a play with all of these different things. But what you might want to do is, sorry, I've also got to move some of the zoom stuff around so I can see everything. If I go to this setting here, currently the image size is very small. I'm going to want that to be a lot bigger. So we can go to 1920, 180, 100. 1080. And then once you're happy with the position, if you want to change position, you can literally just move it on this side like this. Maybe I want to render it on like a crazy angle like this. I don't know, it's quite ridiculous, but all you have to do is press stop, and then you have to just press this refresh button, and it will adapt the camera to what you've just changed. And then when you want to press render, all you need to do is press this play button here. I'm going to press it. And then it will say, once it's done, that it's rendered. It's not coming. Yeah, there you go. And I would open it in the folder and show you, but I don't think I've set up my screen for you to see the render, but effectively it's a really nice render of that image and garment that we've just made. If you wanted to render the animation, because that is another key important thing that people love to do at the moment, that is exactly the same process. So I'm going to press stop. It's still trying to render slightly. No, it's not. And all you have to do is, so we've already made that animation. It already exists, which is great. What you have to do is go to your camera settings. this one. And if you see here, it says image. You just got to click animation. And there's different settings that you can look into. I'm not going to press render for it because it will take too long, but it means that you can render that whole animation and then put it straight onto social or put it onto an e-com site, or like it's so from absolute 0 to 100, you can create and make and leave with an actual like definitive animation and high rendered still, all within Clo, which is amazing. I do see there's some things in the chat which oh yeah, let me have a look. So sorry. Is there a leather reflective of cowhide? Yes. There is. We've got, so the actual the default settings that come within Clo are, let me just go to it now. It's leather lambskin. That's the only leather that's in here, I think. But you can, once you've got your leather lambskin, you can change it so that it feels, let me go to this. So this is actually already leather lambskin. What you can do is, if you go to this fabric, oh, sorry. If you click detail, 1 second, I'm so sorry. If you click detail, you can actually go in and make all of these different amends here. So you can change the density of it. If I was to increase the density and then press simulate, it doesn't fall that much. If I had like a flowy fabric, you'd be able to tell a lot more. Then let me see, I could change the sheerness of it if I increase the sheer. And you can have so much fun just like playing around with inventing new fabrics of leather. So you could try and create a leather cowhide by just going, okay, if you've got some in front of you, how does this look and feel? Is it a little bit tougher actually? So maybe I would make the stretch of the weft and the warp slightly reduced so it's a bit stiffer, things like that. Let me have a look at some more questions. Yeah, so I'm going to now stop sharing this 1 second, and I'm going to go to a brief that we've put together. Let me share my screen again. So I know that I was like super fast, and I am always here if there are any like other questions that anyone might need to know. We've put together this brief that's hopefully going to just help you to just dive in and create something amazing from Clo with the thoughts of leather and sustainability. IoDF brief. So, digitally redefining leather. Everyone loves leather, everyone works with leather. And for us, it's like, how could you use Clo to really push these things further? What does leather even look and feel like in a digital world? And so the aims are, we want you to be able to like develop and experiment within Clo, and understand how digital can really drive sustainability within it, because it's such a powerful tool for sampling things before you've even made them. And yeah, whatever you create, it can be something from the blocks of Clo that come within the software. It can be your own thing, like create something from scratch. Or we've also got some supplied models that we're going to supply you that are leather garments, which I'll be able to show you later. So the outcomes are, we'd love just even for an exploration of one design that incorporates leather but isn't limited to leather. So it can be leather that's digitally pushed, or just something where the leather is the main focus. And we'd love it to be a garment or an accessory, however outlandish or experimental that is. What even is a garment or accessory? I don't know. You can go really into that. And we'd love at least one digital render. It could be an animation or it could be stills. And we'd love a little description of what you've created and how you think that this is going to drive like a more sustainable world in the fashion industry, basically. And what we're just looking for innovative ways of using leather. Obviously, we'd love to see different technical abilities of using all the different cloth features and the overall design. For submissions, you can send it to my email address. I will obviously send you what my email address is. And the deadline would be the 26th of June, 12 p.m. BST. Oh, the next session that we're going to do is a power critique. So I'm going to put all of your work into a lovely doc, and we're going to go through it all together and just see and point out like what all the success is. And then I'll try and give you some feedback of what could be improved, or like what technical feature you might have needed to have used, or what things you might need to change so that it works better, so that you're happier with it, or if it technically works, or if there's any animation rendering issues or anything like that, so I can give you some support on that, basically. These are some digital files that we've got that I'm also just going to send your way if you wanted to start off with these things. It just sometimes helps to have a base to work with. So that is that. Thank you so much. And I'm also, I'm going to hand back over to Paris, who can talk through next steps and stuff.
That was brilliant. Thanks, CattyTay, for the tutorial. As you can all see, Clo3D is an amazing tool to use, especially for your entry into the competition. I really like the animation feature. Like when it comes to your submission, this would be a great addition to showcase your design in another dimension, showing how it moves on the model, etc. And our new competition platform, rlsd.internationaldesignComp.com, allows you to upload videos. So I definitely encourage including this type of file, especially after you do this brief. Obviously, you don't have to, but we think that this would be a great kind of opportunity for you guys. CattyTay is going to give live feedback in the next session. So obviously, you're doing pieces anyway. Definitely include those if you can, if it's relevant to your final design. And we also obviously take on PDFs of the renders too. If you want to include those, we think that would be amazing. I know we have a few questions now. We've got one from Madeline Sumner who said, "Hi, do the blocks come in standard sizes or do they automatically fit the avatar? How does sizing work?"
Yeah, so they should automatically fit the avatar. That is how it should work. I mean, if we want, I can actually just do a test now. Shall I reshare my screen? It will take 2 seconds.
Yes, perfect.
It should. Let me just share screen, because if it didn't, then if it doesn't, I would like to talk to Chloe about that, because it's way more inclusive if I'm just going to start anew. Sorry, this will only, oh, see, my jacket's just fallen to the ground there. New project. So I'm going to go to my, I'm just going to get rid of, 1 second, get rid of that. Library, avatar. So I'm going to click there, and then here you can go sizes. And I'd be interested to know how inclusive these sizes are as well, but as the defaults, but you can go in and change them anyway. So here, okay, this is good. We've got a different size there. Now I'm going to go to my garments. I'm going to click the t-shirt. Aha. Maintain current avatar size and pose, or open size and pose from maintain current avatar size and pose. Oh, okay, yeah. So that means the long and short answer is actually no, I don't think they do. But let me show you how you can. So I just want to give like actual sound rather than be like, yeah, it does. I want to give actual solid feedback on this. So maintain, right? I'm going to now just change my avatar size and shape again. let's click that one. So what I would do in this scenario is, so this is going to be quite tight, I think, on this avatar, potentially. What you can do is a simple selecting of that and click and drag, and they will get bigger like that. And then simulate, and it will fit a little bit better. And then you can go in, you might not want to just make the whole thing larger on scale. You might want to just make small amendments, which you can go in and you can maybe make this area a little bit wider, make that area a tiny bit wider like that. So it's like nice and curvaceous on the hips. So that's my answer.
That was a great demonstration and a brilliant answer. We also have one from Lucy, and she says, can I just submit my 3D entry to the RLSD competition, or should this be supported with 2D imagery and mood boards? Yes, so I definitely recommend adding as many kind of assets that you can to your entry. Obviously, the more the better. Our judges love to see a wide variety of things. Obviously, CattyTay can speak to that because she was a judge last year and will be a judge this year for the international competition. But yeah, the more the better. I think it's as good as possible to add more ways that we can reinterpret your design, seeing it from all different angles, seeing kind of mood boards of the materials that you're using and inspiration. It really helps to speak to what your idea was, what you're looking at, and also things with lots of annotations to let us know kind of how it's super sustainable, how you're being innovative. But yeah, maybe Catty wants to add to that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, if it's for any reason, like if you come to it and you haven't got a time to render an animation, or if you're struggling with that part of it, we also just love to see inside the software. You can just take screen grabs of your design, or just get like screen recordings. We love to see like the behind the scenes, like in the softwares. We show that a lot. So just anything that it encapsulates your idea or what you've learned is perfect. It doesn't really matter, just the more the merrier.
Perfect, thank you. And we also have an anonymous question come in, and they said, how long do you think it should take to master Clo? It looks super complicated, but I'm looking forward to trying it out. What would you say to that, Catty?
I think it completely depends. So I was at Chelsea doing textile design, and I taught myself like what I wanted to learn out of it. There's always more that you can learn with 3D softwares, no matter if you're like an absolute tech genius. Like there's always something that people don't know. It just depends what you want to get out of it, and that's how you know, like, if you've achieved what you want, then you're great at Clo. If you've achieved what you want, you know. So I learned what I did in like 3 weeks, and I showed like a digital collection at my graduate show within 3 weeks. But on reflecting on it, it wasn't that technical. It was just very explorative and creative, if that makes sense. But I'm going to send you loads of useful links, and there's loads of step-by-step guides from beginner level all the way to advanced. So if you put the work in, you'll sail through it, basically.
Lovely. And we have a question also from someone called Lydia. Hi, Lydia. She said, or they said, apologies, for younger designers, what would you say the key benefits of Clo are? So amazing to see these tools being used to follow a more sustainable route, reducing prototypes, etc., and wider possibilities.
So what was the question? What are the key benefits of Clo?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the reason why they made it initially was like a sustainability tool, so that it can be used within that sampling process, so that you can go 100 times testing out that and you haven't even, you know, made anything. But I mean, for emerging designers, it's a way that people can trial and test things out. You can sell things before you've even made it. It's super engaging, fun tool where you can practice fashion designs, and people that aren't fashion designers are now fashion designers. Like there's a whole new wave of a lot of our community who are digital fashion designers and will actually generate revenue from that within a digital fashion sphere. They're now fashion designers with collections from their bedrooms. You don't need to pay 20 grand to show at the British Fashion Council. You can show from your bedroom. And if you think about people on Roblox, for example, there's so many young entrepreneurs actually who make digital fashion collections from their bedrooms, and it's just bringing the power to our hands, I think, is the best way to put it, as well as it being sustainable. There's just so much even more.
That was a brilliant answer. We also have another question, and they have said, are there optimal settings with Clo to render animations? Like when rendering the image, CattyTay increase the size. What's best for animations?
Could you repeat that? I'm so sorry.
Of course. So they said, are there optimal settings with Clo to render the animations?
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a good question. So let me just share my screen really quickly again, and then we're going back into it. So I think something that's good to note is if I show you the mesh on here, let me get my mesh setting. This is effectively what we're dealing with. This is what the 3D looks like. Sometimes digital fabrics will be a tighter mesh, which basically means more detail. So this at the moment has got a particle distance of 20, which basically means the line from there to there is 20. What you don't want to do is increase it to like 5. I'm trying to find it, sorry. Ooh, where is it? Sorry, 1 second. Okay, yeah, here. This is your simulation settings properties. So if I was to make that 5, you'll see what happens to the mesh. Now, if you were to render the animation like that, you can do it, but it'll probably take your laptop like a day, and it might run into some issues of lagging slightly. So you just need to make sure that your simulation property settings are set to 20. And if you want to create more detail on certain areas that are smaller, let's say I wanted details on these top bits, I think that would be okay to make it 5. And that's what I often do. I like pick out what's the most important part that I want the highest quality detail, and I would make those 5 and the rest 20. So now you've got all of that detail where it needs it. And I can still see it's harder, a little bit harder to move that, but that's what's going to help your animation settings. You can still render it a high resolution, as in like 1920, 1080. That's all fine. Everything else actually runs quite smooth. I would just say it's all about the mesh. And depending on your fabric qualities, if you've told the gravity to be at like 0 or something and the fabric's blowing everywhere, it might run into some issues. But if it does, just actually increase the fabric, the particle distance to 30, and just see how that gets on. There'll be less information there in terms of the folds, but it might just be what you need to, if you're really going like explosive with the animations. That makes sense.
Lovely. So I guess before we conclude, I don't suppose you have any final pieces of advice, Catty, for those watching?
I would just say, don't be feared by doing it, and just have a go. Basically, it's the best thing that you can do. There are so many jobs at the moment that are in use of Clo 3D, digital fashion in general. Just go for it. It's really good and fun. It should be a fun thing for sure.
I agree. That's an amazing bit of advice. So thank you, CattyTay, for hosting this workshop. And a big thank you to all the participants for being a part of today's session. I hope you've gained valuable insights into utilising Clo 3D, and especially for your design entry to the 2023 International Student Design Competition. Using the base template, as mentioned, and skills, of course, from today's workshop, you will have the opportunity to showcase your talent and innovation during the second session, scheduled for the 28th of June. This session will provide a platform for real-time feedback, as mentioned earlier, from CattyTay, further enhancing your creative development. Details are to follow, so please keep an eye out. You can find this on either the IoDF official Instagram or our at Choose Real Leather Instagram account, and I hope to see you guys there. Before we sign off, let me just remind you that the deadline for the 2023 competition is fast approaching. It is open to all students and recent graduates within a year. So please make sure you submit your entry by June 30th at 12 BST, so just midnight basically. And on behalf of Real Leather Stay Different, the only thing left to say is we eagerly anticipate your remarkable submissions, and I wish you the best of luck. So have a fantastic day and goodbye, everyone. Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you. Bye.
Bye.